There was something about this guy that I knew instantly that I liked about him. He liked life.
Their love story began 32 years ago. High school sweethearts Jim and Mary Lou Beers married, had kids, and planned a future. A future derailed just 8 years later on a Cleveland freeway when Jim, driving home from work, suffered a near-deadly stroke.
They called me and told me that my husband was paralyzed. He was unable to speak, and that I should hurry there. And when I got to the hospital, I found a 29-year-old man had suffered a massive stroke.
Now the man who so loved life was left with a near lifeless body. Mary Lou left with 3 small kids, another on the way, and a husband who could no longer hold her or say, "I love you."
I was told that Jim would die within the next few hours, and would I like to be with him when he died. And when I went into the recovery room and I looked at Jim, he was having a seizure, and his head was doubled in size with extra tubes and drains. And there was just something, this is the man I loved, and I looked in his eyes and I said, he's not in a coma. I know he's in there, because there was this pleading. I could just see it in his eyes. And I began to pray, oh my God, just let him die, don't let him suffer. And then a seizure would stop and I'd pray, oh God, let him live. And then another seizure, I'd pray, oh God, let him die. And finally the hospital chaplain came in and he put his hand on my shoulder and he said, shut up, honey, you are confusing God. Let him die, let him live.
Jim did live, but the stroke left him silent and paralyzed. On the surface, at least, a shell of his former self.
Our little boy, Jimmy, he really just jumped up and he picked up Jim's paralyzed arm and he crawled under a respirator tube and he put his head right here and he said, Daddy, me loves you. And that was really, we call about conversion moments in our lives. That was just a moment of seeing. If a little boy could look beyond a respirator and he could look beyond a cold body and he could look beyond everything and he could see his father, then maybe I could look beyond and see life.
For the last 22 years, this has been life for Jim and Mary Lou.
Get you as close to that chair as I can, honey.
The man who loved to dance can no longer walk. His young bride, now his nurse. Their only communication, the alphabet, tediously telegraphed through Jim's left knee.
LMNOPQRST. I've never been angry at God. I don't think God in any way, shape, or form caused this to happen. I have questioned God in the sense of how are you going to be present in all this? How are you going to use this? Can you still use a couple of broken things? Can you be the power that you promised to be in our lives? He said sometimes that's hard for him to deal with, that he thinks it's been hard on his kids' lives, that he hasn't always been able to do the things that he thought fathers should do.
What do you tell him?
What do I tell him? That he's been there for all of his kids, and being there is far more important than throwing a baseball or being at every game that maybe he couldn't get to. That's just loving them, and that's something that they've known. He loves them.
A love that would be tested with still more trials, near financial ruin, then health problems for Mary Lou.
I stood up and I felt like an elephant hopped on my chest and I suffered a heart attack.
That was 5 years ago. Today, Mary Lou is fully recovered, and Jim can talk with the help of a computer.
Thank you, honey.
They make their living from public speaking at churches, marriage conferences, and schools.
When Jim's body died, his spirit became so alive that sometimes we forget his body doesn't work. To be able to share with young people that there's hope, that beyond whatever happens to our bodies, there's hope, because there's a part of us that's even greater. It's our spirit, and there's life. Oh, life is more important than food, and the body more important than clothing. Consider the rate.
The Beers say their marriage survived and thrived for just one reason.
Would not be here today if it was not for a deep and abiding faith in a God who is our strength and is our hope and is our love.
A love that went on to produce a fifth miracle child that sustained a young family into adulthood. A love born 32 years ago, still going strong.
There's a line in the wedding feast at Cana when they say that ordinary water had been changed into wine, and the guest said, "Why'd they save the best for last?" I can honestly say that those same words, that as this marriage goes on, I love Jim more today than I did yesterday, and I can't wait for tomorrow because it gets better with time. I love you.